It's Wednesday, and you're listening to Warlock Wednesday on Ehnotherpodcast.com.
Good evening and welcome to another Warlock Wednesdays, the Warlock Hour with Rayzor here on Ehnotherpodcast.com. We're going to get right into the show with your comic book releases for this week. Coming out from DC on Wednesday, which is today when you're listening, but I'm recording on Monday, so just a reminder of that. Wednesday comic book releases from DC Comics, all number 19s, Batwoman, Birds of Prey, Justice League, Red Hood and the Outlaws, and Supergirl, all issue number 19s as part of the New 52. All the issues seem to come out at the same time, except for issues that were released later, but everything that started when the New 52 started are at the same number, so all issue number 19s this week from DC Comics. From Marvel, we have Age of Ultron number 6, part of a 10-part series, so that's coming very close to the end already, but with 3 issues coming out each month, it's not hard to get through 10. Captain Marvel number 12, Savage Wolverine number 4, Superior Spider-Man number 8. From the Independents this week, from Dynamite Entertainment, we have Red Sonja number 74, and from IDW Publishing, Danger Girl Trinity number 1 of a 4-part miniseries, Doctor Who number 8, Ghostbusters number 3, and Judge Dredd number 6. Sticking with comics for a moment, this past week, this being April the 10th's releases of comics, Batgirl number 19 was released. In this comic, DC introduced the first transgendered character into mainstream comics. Way back when there was the infamous Comics Book Code Authority, lesbian, gay, bi, transgendered characters were not really allowed. They were basically banned by the mainstream comics. Characters now, in this day and age, have been able to come through with things. We have gay and lesbian heroes. We have Batwoman, who is gay, as a lesbian. We have Northstar, who's a gay character. Green Lantern Alan Scott has now openly declared being gay and is getting married. Also in the Marvel Universe, we've already had a gay wedding. So this is definitely changed from back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s when the comic book code really ruled everything and said, no, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. It was very strict. Today, DC can do this. They can have characters in their comic books in the mainstream that are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgendered, and in Batgirl number 19 we see just that. The character's name is Alicia Yeoh. Sorry, spoilers, I should have said that first, but I mean, we're a week away, so Alicia Yeoh, she's a roommate of Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl, and it was revealed this week that Yeoh is transgendered. So this is definitely something that is new to comics, and Gail Simone, who returned to writing on Batgirl number 19, definitely has taken a step forward in the mainstream comics with this character. So this is great for everyone out there, and I'm glad that the comic book code has really changed from the way it used to be. And so yeah, DC introducing a new character that will be transgendered. That is excellent news for society as a whole. So, moving on from comic book news, we're going to move right into the movie news. And we're going to get to your box office numbers from the weekend of April 12th to April 14th. The new movies this week took the top 2 spots. 42 came in at number 1. As I'm recording this, it is Jackie Robinson Day in the Major League Baseball, and, well, 42 was the number 1 movie, which is a biography, basically, about Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in Major League Baseball. It brought in $27.4 million in its first weekend, claiming the number 1 spot. In number 2, Kind of a surprise to myself, because at my theater it wasn't very busy, but apparently elsewhere it was. Scary Movie 5 brought in $14.1 million to claim the number 2 spot this week. The Croods holding strong in number 3 with $13.1 million. In 4th spot, dropping down 2 spaces, G.I. Joe, another $10.8 million for that movie. Evil Dead drops to 5th spot with another $9.4 million, up to $41 million out of a budget of $17 million. So you have to definitely classify this as a huge success, sparking of course, Evil Dead 2, which will be by the same director of this remake of Evil Dead. Also, great possibility for Army of Darkness 2, starring Bruce Campbell, the original Evil Dead, and spawning possibly a 3rd film, which will combine both franchises together. So that is very interesting. Jumping into the 6th spot this week, Jurassic Park 3D, $8.8 million. 7th spot, Olympus Has Fallen, $7.2 million. 8th spot goes to Oz, the Great and Powerful, at $4.8 million. In number 9, the very longly titled Tyler Perry's Temptation: Confessions of a Marriage Counselor, $4.5 million. And rounding out the top 10, The Place Beyond the Pines, $3.8 million, and it's still currently only on 514 screens, with more expansion coming this week, so we could see an increase in that number next week, as it rose from 13th to 10th place in its 3rd week of official release. But again, more expansion coming, more screens coming for this coming weekend, and it could jump into the top 5. So that's your top 10 movies from the past weekend. So what's coming out this weekend? Only one movie, other than the expanded Place Beyond the Pines, of course. The only new release for this coming week, Oblivion, starring Tom Cruise, a sci-fi movie, starring Tom Cruise, as I said, and Morgan Freeman. So this should be very interesting. I know at my personal theater, we are playing it in our Ultra AVX theater, which is huge sound, huge screen. So that's the only one. So we get to the news of Hollywood and Kung Fu Panda 3. First of all, I didn't know they were making a Kung Fu Panda 3, but they've added 3 actors to the cast. Bryan Cranston, Mads Mikkelsen, and Rebel Wilson will all be joining the cast of Kung Fu Panda 3. Of course, Bryan Cranston of Breaking Bad fame. He's also was a voice in Madagascar 3. Mads Mikkelsen, you might know him best from Casino Royale, where he played the Bond baddie. And he's also going to be seen in the new series Hannibal. And Rebel Wilson is from Pitch Perfect and Bridesmaids. So they're going to be joining the original cast members, Jack Black, Angelina Jolie, Jackie Chan, and they haven't announced officially the others, but I'm assuming they're trying to get everyone back for Kung Fu Panda 3. Also, Marvel, with their Avengers 2 movie set to release in 2015, we may have a sneak peek at somebody who might make a little bit of an appearance. In a Twitter posting from Morris Chestnut, he wrote, "Not final. Hashtag Black Panther may be in hashtag Avengers 2 first." And that is an indication that possibly Black Panther may not only be in Avengers 2, but possibly be part of the Phase 3 movement and have his own movie. Black Panther is definitely one of the top characters that fans want to see as a solo film. There's been no confirmation from Marvel or Disney, and of course we probably wouldn't expect any. If we do see Black Panther in Avengers 2, I would expect it to be more as part of a credits type thing, like maybe like we saw Thanos at the end of Avengers, or possibly like the shawarma scene right at the end of all the credits. No confirmation from Joss Whedon, no confirmation from Marvel, no confirmation from Disney. All we have is the posting from Morris Chestnut. Speaking of Morris Chestnut, as Black Panther, I like it. I think he can pull it off very well, and I'm looking forward to seeing whether this rumor is true or not. Sticking with Avengers 2, Joss Whedon was talked to about the making of the film and asked about the pressure of making Avengers 2, and his quote is, "The only pressure is the pressure that there is every time I do a new project. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be different? Is there even a reason to make another one? Is there a reason for this to be my next thing? Can I pull it off? I am not going to try and match the box office of the first one because that would be bonkers. Yes, there is a certain level of safety because now people know about the Avengers and they like the characters, so it probably won't completely crash and burn. But you don't want to just get by and do something that is merely okay. If I'm going to dedicate 3 years of my short life to this, then I want to do something that I've never done before. So I think of the Avengers 2 as a glorious challenge. It is a sequel, yes, but how can it be different? Of course, the pressure that I don't feel, my body internalizes. It happens all the time. I was comfortable making the first Avengers, but I didn't sleep during it." So, that says to me that Joss Whedon is definitely prepared for a film of this magnitude, and he's not going to rest on his laurels of the Avengers 1, but he's also not going to try and repeat the success of Avengers 1. Let's face it, Avengers was a comic books fans' dream fantasy come true. It finally brought to the big screen a combination of characters from many comics and did it successfully. And so successfully, in fact, that not only is it the third highest grossing movie of all time, it is also the highest grossing comic book movie of all time. To top that would almost be impossible. But when you compare that to what DC has been struggling to do with the Justice League, Avengers 2 is definitely not going to be a flop or crash and burn or anything like that. Is the fans have already seen the characters, and adding more to it, knowing what Joss Whedon can do as a story writer, I definitely think that this movie is going to succeed. Will it have the success of the first Avengers? More than likely not. Will it be a successful movie making upwards of $400 to $500 million easily? I think so. Sticking with the Marvel Universe, for those of you who read the comics, Brian Michael Bendis, one of the biggest writers in the Marvel Universe right now, was interviewed about the film Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy, as we know, is probably very little known to the comic world and the movie world even more so. It's a risky film for Marvel/Disney. However, at the same time, in 2008, when the first Iron Man was released, that was risky. Let's face it, before Iron Man the movie came out, Tony Stark/Iron Man was definitely not a household name. He was not a Superman, he was not a Batman, he was not a Spider-Man, and he wasn't an X-Men. Those were the comics and characters that moviegoers knew. So Iron Man, Tony Stark was definitely a risk to make that film. Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be very much the same thing. In the interview, Bendis says, "The movie may not seem like an obvious choice on the surface, but once you see what the plan is, you'll say, oh yeah, I totally see that. I mean, people said the same thing with Iron Man. If you remember, you guys were worried. I don't know, Iron Man's not a household name, like I was just saying, it's not like Spider-Man, and that all that went away when the movie came out." He goes on to say, "Here's the cool thing about the Guardians." He said, "There are a lot of fantastical elements, like Rocket Raccoon and Groot. I mean, initially you go, hey, that's pretty funny. But what surprises you is how much you end up caring about them. If the Guardians fail, it affects the Earth." Bendis basically has been interviewed many times about many of the movies that have been made, because like I said, he's a big writer in the Marvel Universe, and he was asked about the leader. He was comparing the leader to almost like a Peter Parker, Luke Skywalker type character. He says he's an everyman with a very specific destiny in front of him. He goes on to say that while Marvel is not while Marvel's gone into the movie making business, there are risks to be taken with every comic book movie. He says, "My argument is that almost every Marvel comic is a sci-fi comic. It all feels to me on some level like science fiction. But my favorite kind of science fiction is the character stuff, and Guardians of the Galaxy allows that. The characters are fascinating, they're broken, they're struggling, they're trying desperately to do right even though the odds are against them." The cast of this movie is definitely one that may be surprising. Personally, I'm still upset that Dave Bautista was cast as Drax the Destroyer. Chris Pratt, I don't know too much about, but can he lead the film? We'll have to wait and see. And of course, the rumors that Zoe Saldana will be joining the cast as Gamora are intriguing. So I guess we need to see who's going to be doing the motion capture for Groot, who's basically a living tree, and of course the voiceover, and then the voices and the voice for Rocket Raccoon, who we assume will also be motion capture. Personally, I do like the idea that was bandied about on my last podcast, which was Jason Statham. Moving on, but sticking with kind of a comic theme, Christopher Nolan's in the news again, and unfortunately it is not to make a superhero or comic book movie. However, he is venturing into science fiction with a movie entitled Interstellar starring Matthew McConaughey. Now, I'm not a huge Matthew McConaughey fan. I like some of his movies. Most of his movies are hit or miss in my opinion. However, Christopher Nolan has reteamed with his one of his Dark Knight Rises co-stars. Anne Hathaway has signed on to join Matthew McConaughey in the Interstellar flick, and not much has been revealed. Christopher Nolan is usually tight-lipped about his projects and doesn't divulge much information when he's writing and producing and directing these films. So, not much to report about the movie itself, other than the fact that it's starring Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway, and is a sci-fi film entitled Interstellar. Constantine Films who are making the movie Mortal Instruments: City of Bones, have announced that they will now also be attaining the rights and going forward with the development of the prequel series called Infernal Devices. The novels by Cassandra Clare, the Mortal Instruments, there's 3 of them. I believe City of Bones is the first one. I'm not sure what the other 2 are called, but the 3 that have been optioned for the Infernal Devices trilogy are called Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess. So I'm assuming that this company is now set to make 6 movies. If I'm reading this correctly. That is absolutely a huge undertaking for an independent company to do, but if you can attain the rights and do it well, who knows? The only downside to this is Mortal Instruments: City of Bones is not even out in theaters yet, so they don't even know the reaction. They're going by the reaction, I guess, or the sales of books, perhaps. But the movie's not to be released till August 23rd, and if it's a flop and they've already committed to making, like as I said, 6 films, that's a huge undertaking, and they better hope that there's some success there. Moving on, Anthony Daniels, who many of you geeks out there must know, is the voice of the great C-3PO in the Star Wars films. In fact, he was in all 6, has hinted that C-3PO and R2-D2, who was voiced by Kenny Baker, or at least played by Kenny Baker, the voices were just beeps and bleeps, but Kenny Baker and Anthony Daniels are hinting at that they may be back for Star Wars Episode 7. In the quote, Daniels says, "It's all very early days, and I don't want to wear anybody out by speculating or letting you waste your energy by saying, 'What do you think?' I'm certainly not sitting by the phone, but it's always nice when it rings. Do you know what I mean? It never occurred to me that it would happen. Everybody's really happy that Disney have taken over the mantle. Kathy Kennedy is so well loved, and she is carrying George Lucas's torch so much further." So, while it's not official that Daniels and Baker will be back. The fact that the Baker will be back as R2-D2 and Anthony Daniels will be back as C-3PO would be a huge boost to this franchise. If we can keep them in the shiny gold outfit, so to speak, that would be awesome for Episode 7 moving forward. Sticking with another franchise movie, The Hunger Games: Catching Fire released a trailer this week. On Sunday at the MTV Movie Awards, they released their first teaser trailer. I'm going to post a link to this below, so if you want to check out the trailer, please do so. They also released some fine pictures this week, and you can go to, not a sponsor, but go to thehungergamesexplorer.com to check out some of these images. Some of the key images show, spoilers, the return of Katniss Everdeen to her District 12 home and hugging her sister Prim. They also show pictures of Plutarch's Heavensby, one of the new characters in Catching Fire, and don't want to give too much away, but definitely check out the trailer if you're interested, because it's going to be a fantastic film, released November 22nd. I almost said 2nd, but it's November 22nd, and also, the third movie, which will be actually broken up into 2 parts, are also November releases, but we got a wild wait for those. However, check out the trailer below. I hope you'll enjoy it, because I know I'm going to. Moving on, the movie that will suck the most, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or as it's officially titled, Ninja Turtles, by Michael Bay, has now cast its voice, I'm assuming voice and possible motion capture for Splinter. That's right, Splinter, the teacher of the Ninja Turtles, has been cast. It will be Denny Woodburn. For those of you who don't know Woodburn, check out, let's see, he's been in Bones as a recurring role. He's on in a movie called Mirror Mirror. He's also been on Crash and Bernstein on Disney's XD channel. He's definitely been around. I guarantee you, if you see a picture of this man, you will recognize him. He's been in a lot of films, a lot of TV shows. Maybe this is the best casting they've done so far. It's still a Michael Bay film. It's still aliens from space, and it still has Megan Fox. So it's still a movie that will suck. That will be released in 2014. Speaking of the Ninja Turtles movie, Alan Ritchson, who I believe is a producer. I'm just going to double check that before I go any further on that front, because I don't know exactly what he does, if he's a producer or a writer. But he was interviewed this week. Alan, or maybe he's an actor. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, yes, he's an actor. He's doing the voice of Raphael. So he said in an interview, "We are shooting. It's been an interesting process. The live action motion capture thing, there's just a lot of technology involved, so there's some kinks to work out. We've had some trial runs. We started shooting some. We're also in the phase right now that is sort of developmental. We're learning a lot of the fight choreography. We've got these unbelievable stunt trainers that work us every day to the bone. It's been a great process. We'll pick back up with the principal photography soon." Then he went on to say, when asked, "How will the fans react to the movie?" His reply, "The frustrating for me, since I've signed on, is that you hear that it's already got a reputation. This movie hasn't come out yet, and it has a reputation. I think people assume they know what it's going to be about, and those people are wrong. The assumptions, everything you read online is wrong, and it's frustrating because you want to tell everybody how great it is, and you can't really say why, but it is. It's so much better than people think, and it's going to look way better than anybody can imagine. I can't wait for people to see this. I think it's going to live up to and exceed everybody's boyhood dreams of being a Ninja Turtle. I grew up with it too, and I want to see it come to life in the best possible way." My problem is, they're not even calling it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're just calling it Ninja Turtles, which definitely lends credence to the rumors that they're from aliens from space. And I'm sorry. As soon as you say aliens from space about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's a bad idea. So once again, I still classify this as a movie that will suck. However, I will wait and watch a trailer, and if they're aliens from space, I will keep my first assumption. This will be a movie that will suck. Moving on from movie news to a little bit of TV news, just a little bit this week. For those of you who are Doctor Who fans like myself, in a recent episode, The Bells of St. John, which was the first official episode with the new companion played by Jenna Louise Coleman, she had a book. The book was entitled Summer Falls by Amelia Williams. Well, Amelia Williams is Amy Pond. So this was a book written by Amy Pond. As we all know, for those of us who watch Doctor Who, Amy and Rory were stranded in 1930s New York in the episode Angels Take Manhattan, and assuming this book was written by her in the past, it was written in 1954, which is only 24 years after she was trapped in 1930. It definitely makes sense. Well, now you can buy this book yourself. It looks like there's going to be some kind of story made up. We're not sure who actually wrote it just yet, but it will be available for purchase as an ebook in both North America and in the UK. And I think that's pretty cool. That you can buy a book that you've seen on TV that is usually, when you see books on TV that are like this, they're just made up books. They don't really exist. I've watched television shows for many years and seen things and been, oh, that'd be cool to own, but it's a made up thing. Well, this you could actually own. The book read by Clara Oswald in the first episode where she becomes the companion, Summer Falls, is going to be available for you to own. Other television news, Walking Dead Season 3, when it is released on Blu-ray, will have a special set that you can buy that will basically be an aquarium full of heads. Everybody remembers the governor had his aquarium full of the zombie heads. Well, you can now buy a special edition Season 3 package that will have the zombie heads in the aquarium. I think that is really cool. However, it's $105. So, for those of you that can afford it, great. For those of you that can't, maybe you just download the rest of them yourself. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say download. You gotta go and buy it. That's right. You gotta pay for it. Alright, I want to do a little bit of geek and gaming news. Earlier this week, I was surfing the net, and I found some really cool stuff that I thought was fun, and I'd love to share with you. It's Villains of Geeks. And we're going to start with the first one, and it's The Bro. The Bro's power, loving everything you love, but for exactly the wrong reasons. His crimes, taking over every Call of Duty midnight release, and then making you afraid to go on Xbox Live. His weakness, actually being called a nerd. Your next villain, the Imposter. Power, generating a large amount of self-esteem by making herself appear less cool. Her crimes, flooding Tumblr with bad memes and keeping Big Bang Theory on the air. I disagree with that personally, but I'm just reading what was posted. Weaknesses, playing a video game other than Mario Kart. Next villain, the Pervert. His power, able to ruin any fiction by transforming it into fanfiction. His crimes, keeping the hentai industry in business and just generally skeeving you out. His weakness, actual human interaction. And your next villain, the Youth. His power, able to view the world with a naive sense of innocent wonder. His crimes, enjoying everything you hate and totally undermining the integrity of any and all franchises you actually do enjoy. His weaknesses, forced to view the world with a naive sense of innocent wonder. Yes, that was a repeat of his power. And the second last villain, the Alpha Nerd. His power can talk about things he hates and defend the things he loves for an infinite amount of time. I might be an Alpha Nerd. Crime spewing his opinions all over the internet, making forums and comment sections toxic and uninhabitable. Well, I do spew my opinions, but I don't know if I make things toxic and uninhabitable, so I might not be quite an alpha nerd. His weakness? Being wrong. And finally, the executive. Her power can reboot a franchise at will using the power of contractual obligation. Her crimes, holding characters hostage and preventing them from ever being in a good film. And her weaknesses, getting below 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that was just something fun I thought I would share with everyone because I found it interesting and funny myself. On to some gaming news. Earlier this week, April 9th to be exact, Arkham video game series has announced their new title, Batman Arkham Origins. Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment and DC Entertainment announced that Batman Arkham Origins and Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate will be the next installments of the blockbuster Batman Arkham video game franchise. The Arkham Origins will be available for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 and the Wii U. Also, there will be a PC version released a little bit later. Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate will be available for the Nintendo 3DS handheld system and the PlayStation Vita handheld system. So the Blackgate one will only be available on your handheld systems. The one that doesn't have Blackgate in the title will be available on your consoles and your PCs. This game is set to release October 25th, 2013. And the final bit of gaming news I have, you're listening to this on Wednesday, which means you're a day late, but I'm recording this on Monday, so I'm a day early. Injustice, Gods Among Us, which is the DC version of a Mortal Kombat game, is released tomorrow or yesterday, depending on your point of view. Tomorrow for me, yesterday for you. April 16th is the release date, so if you haven't picked it up already, you might want to do so. I'm hoping to get it at some point because I want to kick everybody's ass with Harley Quinn. And that does not wrap up my gaming news. I have one more bit, and that's that Sega has decided they are going to remake Castle of Illusion featuring Mickey Mouse. They will release this on the Xbox Live Arcade and the PlayStation Network, also on Windows PC in the summer of 2013. So for those of you who are a fan of the Castle of Illusion video game, Sega is going to remake it for these platforms. So look for that later this summer. So that is the gaming news, and we're going to move into a little bit of sports news, and unfortunately for sports news, we have to start on a very down note. Today, being the day I'm recording it, Monday, is Patriots Day in the United States, but it's also the Boston Marathon. And unfortunately today, at the Boston Marathon, there were 2 explosions. They don't want to classify them as bombs. However, some media outlets have classified them as bombs. Were exploded near the finish line. Over half the race was over. However, many people were injured. 3 people were killed, and 113 at the present are listed under the injured. And when I say injured, I mean it was pretty brutal. There were limbs blown off. There were bodies thrown around. It was almost like seeing a war zone in like Iraq. It really was bad. My thoughts and all my sympathies definitely go out to all the families affected, all the people affected by this huge travesty. There are no leads as to who committed this crime. The FBI and Homeland Security in the United States are definitely fully involved. President Obama has said that the whole federal government will be behind will back up the FBI and Homeland Security as much as they can. They definitely want to catch whoever's involved. If you have any tips, I don't know if you're listening because most of my listeners are Canadian, but if any tips, there is a toll-free number you could call, 1-800-494-TIPS. If you have loved ones that you're trying to get a hold of, they ask that you text. Hopefully by now, when you're listening to this, you know of what's going on. if you had any loved ones in the Boston area, because many people come to the Boston Marathon. It's not just Bostonians or Americans. This year, they said there was over 27,000 runners representing 96 countries. So, I mean, wherever you're listening, if you knew somebody there, I'm hoping they're safe. As I said, 3 are dead, and the worst part about that is one was a child, an 8-year-old child, was one of the lost victims of this blast, and it's just sad, and it's horrendous, and it's pointless in so many ways. So, again, my thoughts and my sympathies goes out to the families and to all the people affected by the blast that injured so many and killed 3. Okay, so moving on to sports of a better note. We're getting closer and closer to the NHL playoffs. Most teams only have 6 to 7 games left, and that includes games that were played here on Monday night. So let's look at the standings. In the Eastern Conference, your conference leader is still the Pittsburgh Penguins. They have 64 points. Sitting in second place with 57 points are the Montreal Canadiens. In third place, the division-leading Washington Capitals with 48 points. Fourth goes to Boston with 56 points. Fifth goes to Toronto with 53 points. Ottawa's in sixth with 48. The Islanders are in seventh place with 47. And the Rangers round out the top 8 with 46. On the outside looking in right now, the Winnipeg Jets with 44 points are 2 points out with 6 games remaining. And the Buffalo Sabres have come on strong of late. They're 42 points. Keep them 4 points back, but they only have 5 games remaining. So with the big win that Toronto had over New Jersey, that pushes New Jersey's losing streak up to 10 games. They are sitting now in 11th place with 40 points. They're 6 points out of a playoff spot. It's looking less and less like they will make the playoffs. Philadelphia, who did trounce Montreal tonight with a 7-3 win, 37 points, looks like they're missing the playoffs as well. So it looks like almost the playoff picture is shaping up very well in the Eastern Conference. And it's good for my team because with 53 points, they are 9 points ahead of the 9th place team. Unlikely that they will fall out of the playoff race. Personally, though, I'm hoping Boston pulls ahead of Montreal for the division lead, and that would set up a Montreal-Toronto first-round matchup, which, of course, is definitely something I'm wanting to see, especially since Toronto has owned Montreal so far this year. Moving on to the Western Conference, the Chicago Blackhawks still lead the entire league and the Western Conference with 68 points. In second place are the Anaheim Ducks with 59 points. The Vancouver Canucks, the current division leaders, with 52 points. Los Angeles Kings, also with 52 points, are in fourth. San Jose is in fifth with 49 points. St. Louis Blues in sixth with 48 points. And Minnesota and Detroit are seventh and eighth respectively, each with 47 points. The Western Conference is a lot closer because in 9th and 10th place, both with 45 points, are Dallas and Columbus respectively, and the Phoenix Coyotes, even just 4 points back at 43 points, are in 11th place. So that one still has a lot of teams that can get back into it and fall out of it. So I think the top 3 are pretty much set, top 4 even maybe. But after that, from 5th on down to 11th, we could see some changes between now and when the season ends in a week and a half. 2 weeks at the most. I think it might go actually the full 2 weeks, but there might not be a lot of games for some teams. As I said, 6 to 7 games left for most teams. Statistically speaking, that crybaby Sidney Crosby still leads the points with 56. He also leads in assists with 41. The goals has a new leader this week, Alex Ovechkin, who poured it on last week. 27 goals, just one ahead of Stamkos, and he's helped propel the Washington Capitals into not only a playoff spot, but into a division lead that looks like it may be insurmountable at this point and will probably keep the Washington Capitals in that playoff spot solidly. Your plus-minus leader this week is Chris Kunitz of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Goals against average. Back from injury and returning to form as he was before he was injured, Craig Anderson with 1.53 goals against average leads there. He's also your save percentage leader at a .949 save percentage. Your wins leader has changed this week. It is no longer Nicholas Backstrom of the Minnesota Wild. It is now, unfortunately, Marc-Andre Fleury of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Too many Penguins leading too many categories. I hope they're eliminated in the first round. In your shutouts, we have a three-way tie. Corey Schneider, Pekka Rinne, and Mike Smith, all with 5 shutouts. That's Corey Schneider from the Vancouver Canucks, Pekka Rinne from the Nashville Predators, and Mike Smith from the Phoenix Coyotes, all each with 5 shutouts. Your 3 stars from this week. First star goes to goaltender Sergei Bobrovsky of the Columbus Blue Jackets. He was 3-0 this week with a 0.97 goals against average and a .971 save percentage. He picked up, he faced 103 shots in those 3 games and stopped 100 of them. That's pretty damn good. One of those games he did have a shutout, so that helped a lot. Second star from my Toronto Maple Leafs, Mr. Phil Kessel, led the NHL this week with 5 goals and tied for the league lead with 7 points in 3 games. So 5 goals, 2 assists in 3 games this past week. They defeated the New York Rangers 4-3, lost in a shootout 3-2 to the Rangers in a home series, so they beat them and then got a point from them in a shootout loss, and then went on to defeat the Montreal Canadiens 5-1 on Saturday. So that definitely made him the second star. Your third star this week, another goaltender, Richard Bachman of the Dallas Stars, a third-string goalie who's been propelled into a starting role because of injuries. Bachman posted a 3-0 record as well as Bobrovsky. However, his goals against average was slightly worse. And when I say slightly, he had a 1.08 goals against average and a .963 save percentage. He defeated Dallas 5-1. He is Dallas. He defeated Los Angeles 5-1. 5-2 victory over Nashville. And then a 2-1 win over the San Jose Sharks. So, 2 goalies once again make the 3 stars this week, with Phil Kessel filling up that second star spot with a huge week with 5 goals and 2 assists. Okay, as I take a little break here and let Rob Schichetto give you a little information, I'm going to go into baseball news as I come back.
Hi, I'm Rob Schichetto, and you're listening to Ehnother Podcast.com. Hi, I'm Rob Schichetto, creator of Zombie Portraits. You can check out Zombie Portraits at zombieportraits.com.
And thank you to Rob for, once again, all that, for, of course, promoting us. He's a friend here over at the Ehnother Podcast Network, and check out his website for more of his work. All right, as I said when I came back, I would be talking some baseball before we close up the show this week. So let's get right into it. I tried to do a different thing last week because baseball is a little tougher to do than hockey. The statistics are very plentiful. There's just so much of it. So what I'm going to do is narrow it down to just a couple of categories. But first, let's get the standings. In the American League, your division leaders are in the AL West, Oakland with a 9-4 record. The Boston Red Sox lead the AL East with an 8-4 record. In the AL Central, you have Detroit with 7-5 record, and in the AL South, I think that is. No, wait, let me just double check that. Thought I had this, guess I didn't. But your Kansas City Royals are the leaders in the Central. So, we have a tie. That's why it was weird. We have a tie in the AL Central. Detroit and Kansas City, both with 7-5 records, are tied. So that means your wild card teams are Texas Rangers at 8-5 is your first wild card team, and then Detroit and Kansas City are battling it out for that second wild card spot. So whatever one currently leads the division, the other one is the second wild card. Over in the National League, a little bit more clearer, your NL West leading San Francisco 49ers. No, that's the wrong sport. San Francisco Giants are 9-4. However, in the NL East, leading the entire Major League Baseball, the Atlanta Braves 11-1. One loss so far this season. And in the NL Central, I was going to say AL again, man. Wow. NL Central, the St. Louis Cardinals have an 8-5 record. Your wild card leaders right now are the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Colorado Rockies, both with an 8-4 record. So that's where that stands there as far as standings go. Let's go into some statistics. And the only offensive statistic I'm going to do this week are the home runs, because let's face it, everybody just loves the long ball. So your home run leaders this week are Justin Upton of the Atlanta Braves with 7. Then we have a 4-way tie for second, so that's all I'm going to do is the 4-way tie, all with 6 home runs. John Buck of the New York Mets, Chris Davis of the Baltimore Orioles, Dexter Fowler of the Colorado Rockies, and Michael Morse of the Seattle Mariners. Those are your home run leaders. So let's get into some pitching statistics, and let's see who we've got here leading the way. I know that it's very hard to do statistics, so again, I'm sticking to one category, and that is wins. And we have, 6, I think it is. Yeah, 6 pitchers, all with 3 wins, which means they've won every single start they've made so far. And I'm just going to go through them quickly here. From the Boston Red Sox, Clay Buchholz. He has 3 wins with a 0.41 ERA with 22 innings pitched. Madison Bumgarner also has 3 wins. Okay, let's face it, all of them have 3 wins, so I'll just give you the rest of their lines. 1.77 ERA with 20 and a third innings pitched. Matt Harvey from the New York Mets, 0.82 ERA, 22 innings pitched. Paul Maholm of the Atlanta Braves, 3-0 with no ERA and 20.1 innings pitched. That's 20 and a third innings, hasn't given up a run. That, my friends, is a pitcher you better have in your fantasy team, because he's rocking it right now. Your other 2 starters, Justin Masterson of the Cleveland Indians, 0.41 ERA, 22 innings pitched, and Jordan Zimmerman of the Washington Nationals, 2.45 ERA and 22 innings pitched. So that's how I'm going to do the statistics for each week. I figure those are the ones that you want to hear. Possibly we'll do saves maybe further down the line. However, I think I like the way I'm doing it right now, and we'll see how it goes from here. Alright, so that's everything this week. That's your entertainment, your comics, your geek news, and your sports, all wrapped into one neat little podcast here on Ehnotherpodcast.com. I hope you're enjoying all the shows on the network. Remember, we have Ehnother Monday, Real Tuesday, Warlock Wednesdays, and Teen Talk Thursdays. Still looking for more shows, so if you're Canadian and you're out there and you want to get a podcast, hit James up on the Twitter. Hit James up on the website and on Twitter if you have him. But on the website is where you can reach him. He has this Twitter address, his Facebook, and his email. So you can do all that there. Check it out. We'll hook you up with how to get it going. But we are looking for a couple more shows. So thanks for listening, and I hope you come back next week and listen to some more. Remember to tune in tomorrow for Teen Talk Thursdays with Chelsea. And have a good evening, morning, night, wherever you are. Enjoy your day, and I'm out. Thanks for listening to Ehnother Podcast from Ehnotherpodcast.com. Don't forget to go on iTunes and or download right from Ehnotherpodcast.com. That's EHNOTHER podcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at Ehnother Podcast. Be sure to check back for tomorrow's show only on Ehnother Podcast, your Canadian podcast network. Ehnotherpodcast.com. Not a sponsor.